Why do you think you've done so well and Labour's vote, as you say, has collapsed?
Loss of confidence in the Labour Party. No one knows what the Prime Minister really stands for. A sense that somehow in this very patriotic constituency, the Labour Party doesn't really stand for those values anymore. A sense from working people whose alarm clocks go off at 5 o'clock in the morning that they're paying ever more taxes and they wonder why. But I promise you that the fact there are 750 young men who've illegally crossed the English Channel living in this constituency alone, it's a sense of fairness and what's right and what's wrong, bordering, I would say, even on resentment. And we picked that up very strongly on the doors for people who voted Labour for all of their lives.
What's your reflection of the results across the country, mayoral elections, local government elections and so on?
Well, some near misses in mayoral contests, but in old Labour areas, North Tyneside, Doncaster, we missed out by cigarette paper on both of those. We are smashing into the Labour vote in many parts of the north. Durham tomorrow will be the acid test of how much we've hit into Labour, but Lincolnshire and Staffordshire.
The Labour Party is now facing what could be called a full-blown crisis after one of its most crushing election defeats in recent memory, sending shockwaves through Westminster almost immediately. The tension came to a head when Labour Party chair Ellie Reeves sat down with Nick Ferrari on LBC and found herself under intense scrutiny. When asked why voters had turned away from Labour, she faltered, eventually claiming that while people want change, the change they truly desired was simply Labour out of office. So where exactly did it all start to unravel for the party? Let's break it down step by step.
Very much the story of the night, as we expected, won that by-election by just 6 votes. So that is a serious defeat for Labour. Starmer failing his first electoral test, and elsewhere they are picking up council seats a lot. The Tories down at 50 at the moment, so a poor night for them. Labour just about holding, and that seems to be the theme of the night too. They have, however, held on to those mayoralties in Doncaster, North Tyneside and the west of England, despite some really serious opposition from Reform. They are doing very well in second place there and have taken, of course, their first mayoralty. Other patterns we're seeing, apart from the teal tidal wave that we have very much seen tonight, those huge swings to Reform, fascinating stuff, and you just heard from a very happy Nigel Farage this morning. Reform are taking seats now off both Labour and the Conservatives. They are no longer just the party which is eating into Kemi Badenoch's vote. They are now a headache for both Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch. So that is also going to be a real threat to the chances of a majority for any political party at the next election. If the polls continue like this, we are on course for a hung parliament. Of course, it's very early to be making any of these predictions, but it just goes to show exactly what is going to be done.
Nigel Farage flashed a grin as he held up 6 fingers to the cameras, a cheeky nod to his party's razor-thin victory. 6 votes might seem tiny, but that slim margin was enough for Reform UK to snatch the Runnan and Helsby seat just outside Liverpool, ending Labour's long-standing dominance there. Once one of Labour's safest strongholds, the constituency flipped in a shock result that sent shockwaves through both major parties. On a night full of surprises, Reform's win signalled they're no longer just making noise, they're becoming a genuine challenge to the political establishment. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this coverage, take a moment to like, share and subscribe. Then let's dive back in.
Sure, there's any suggestion of that at all. Isn't it just a matter of tactical voting, which is something that's happened particularly between Labour and Liberal Democrat voters for a long time? That's just how the voting system works in first past the post, isn't it?
Well, look, I just think that, there needs to be a bit of honesty about it. Robert Jenrick made these comments that seem to be a lot more than just about tactical voting. It was talking about an electoral pact, a coalition of some kind. That's very different just for tactical voting, for example.
How do you explain away what's happened? I mean, you can't blame it all on the Conservatives or on Mike Amesbury, the former Labour MP for Runcorn and Helsby, can you? Because even where you've won mayoral elections, you've lost so much support and it's ended up being a pretty tight race. What that seems to indicate is, surely, that the government is not addressing a lot of the issues that ordinary people up and down the country have got concerns about.
When we were elected to government last July, we were elected on a platform of change. And look, I recognise that people are impatient for change. I'm impatient for that change. The government's impatient for that change. Since coming into government, we have started to deliver on our plan for change. It takes time. You know, NHS waiting lists are down 6 months in a row, but there are still too many people on waiting lists. Take Runcorn, for example. Just last month, we delivered 4 new free breakfast clubs in primary schools. Well, we want to go further and faster. We want every primary school in Runcorn to have a free breakfast club. Just last month, our increase in the national minimum wage means that 3.5 million low-paid workers are getting a pay rise.
What truly mattered in the recent election wasn't merely the number of votes, it was the statement those results made. Reform UK has evolved beyond being a fringe protest group, no matter how hard Keir Starmer tries to portray them that way. Yet Labour's response, especially after losing Runcorn and Helsby, has felt oddly muted and disconnected. There's little evidence the party grasps the depth of anger and disappointment felt by many lifelong Labour supporters after just 10 months in power. While political commentators often stress the importance of emotional intelligence, right now what's on display is a striking lack of it.
Well, I think what the voters up and down the country, particularly in Labour heartlands, are saying we'd actually like to change the government and let's have a general election, because, I mean, this is a staggering collapse of a government in just 10 months. I mean, this seat that we've just won, it's the equivalent of winning Hackney South from Diane Abbott.
Right.
I mean, that's the sort of context we're talking about here. And voters have basically reject the lies of the Labour Party, and they've essentially sort of put even deeper into the bin the Tory Party, and people are absolutely raging mad about national issues, the 34,000 odd illegals that have crossed the channel since Labour took control, the fact that legal immigration is still completely out of control as well, and people are getting poorer. Net stupid zero is, it's coming to fore, and the unions are now backing reform on net zero. Tony Blair is backing reform on net zero. So look, we're winning all over the place.
We're witnessing a shift unfold in real time. People are no longer willing to accept hollow promises. They want clear answers and to feel genuinely heard. For many lifelong Labour supporters, a creeping sense of betrayal is taking hold. It's not just that their concerns seem ignored, it's that the government under Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves is making decisions they never expected from Labour leadership. Choices that feel miles away from the party's traditional values. Not long ago, Labour symbolised hope after years of Conservative austerity. But now, for many, this government barely feels like Labour at all. And this isn't merely a clash between old Labour and new Labour. It's a question of whether it can still be called Labour in any meaningful sense.
Why Labour lost those key red wall seats?
Well, Julia, let's just say, first of all, losing 300 councillors and several other significant elections this weekend, there are no reasons to be optimistic, as some in the Labour Party have said. Gaining Chipping Norton and losing the North is not something to be optimistic about. It's been a disaster. And the reason this has happened, I think the umbilical cord between the Labour Party and its traditional vote was severed when we came out for a second referendum back in 2016-17, which I think we probably discussed at the time.
Labour's strategy under Keir Starmer appears to have been to blunt Reform UK by drifting toward Nigel Farage's positions, particularly on immigration. The idea was to mimic reform just enough to buy time, then lean on economic growth and modest tax changes to fund public services. But voters weren't convinced. When Labour imitates reform, many simply opt for the original, while traditional Labour supporters feel alienated by the rightward shift. Growth never materialised, fiscal constraints limited policy options, and cuts to winter fuel support, national insurance, and disability benefits hit the very people Labour claims to champion. With internal dissent suppressed and MPs reluctant to speak out, the party now appears directionless, trying to outdo reform while losing its own moral compass.
Do you think you've done so well and Labour's vote, as you say, has collapsed?
Loss of confidence in the Labour Party. No one knows what the Prime Minister really stands for. A sense that somehow in this very patriotic constituency, the Labour Party doesn't really stand for those values anymore. A sense from working people whose alarm clocks go off at 5 o'clock in the morning that they're paying ever more taxes and they wonder why. But I promise you that the fact there are 750 young men who've illegally crossed the English Channel living in this constituency alone, it's a sense of fairness and what's right and what's wrong, bordering, I would say, even on resentment. And we picked that up very strongly on the doors for people who voted Labour for all of their lives.
What's your reflection of the results across the country, mayoral elections, local government elections and so on?
Well, some near misses in mayoral contests, but in old Labour areas, North Tyneside, Doncaster, we missed out by cigarette paper on both of those. We are smashing into the Labour vote in many parts of the north. Durham tomorrow will be the acid test of how much we've hit into Labour. But Lincolnshire and Staffordshire show you that in areas the Conservatives have always run, we're making massive progress there too. So it's a phenomenal night for us.
What's your message for Sir Keir Starmer and also for Kemi Badenoch?
Kemi Badenoch, please stay. I mean, please don't resign. We want you to stay on as leader. I'll put some money in if you'd like to keep you there. No, she's got an impossible job. The Conservative Party is split. And what you'll see tomorrow, as the West Country results come in, is you'll see a stack of 2021 Conservative votes.
But to turn things around, Labour must reconnect with its grassroots and stop alienating supporters yet again. A logical first step would be scrapping the proposed cuts to disability benefits and genuinely listening to voters. Thursday's poor showing didn't appear overnight. It's the result of long-building discontent. With multi-party politics now firmly entrenched in the UK, this could signal a deeper realignment. After the defeat, Keir Starmer blamed Nigel Farage for offering simple solutions and promised to push harder for change, insisting he won't make excuses. Farage, meanwhile, is celebrating. Reform UK now leads 10 councils, is the largest party in 4 more, and has new mayors in Greater Lincolnshire, Hull and East Yorkshire. The pressing question is how they'll wield that power. Farage has proposed a UK version of Trump's Doge, a government efficiency unit aimed at cutting spending. After Reform's Durham win, he cautioned council staff to reconsider roles tied to climate initiatives or remote work. The message is clear: reduce waste, shrink government, and focus on essentials like social care and potholes. When asked about Reform's limited experience, Deputy Leader Richard Tye framed it as a strength. Mistakes may happen, but voters can expect honesty and a fresh, common-sense approach.